Chris Rogers and Sam Robson both moved past 700 championship runs this summer as their Middlesex side had much the better of the first day of their latest LV County Championship match with current leaders Sussex at Lord's. Ed Joyce decided to bowl first against his former county after winning the toss, pitching the country's most successful bowlers Steve McGoffin and Chris Jordan against the domestic game's best two batsmen Rogers and Robson. And early on it looked as if the bowlers, who both started this match with 34 championship wickets apiece, would win the battle. Perhaps they would have done had Michael Yardy not spilled a very grabbable chance in the slips of Rogers in the first half an hour of the morning session. How Rogers' Western Australian teammate McGoffin would have loved that to have been taken. The morning session was actually in the early afternoon, with this game not getting underway until midday because of Middlesex's involvement in a 40-over match the night before. Neither Rogers nor Robson, who doesn't play in the shorter format in any case, were affected by that as they got through the first hour and then started to express themselves. Almost all season long this pair have been scoring runs. Indeed, both have already posted double hundreds, and with things soon settling down and the batsman in, Joyce must have started to wonder about his decision to insert. It was a high-risk strategy against two men in such good nick. Robson, as usual, played some tremendous cut shots on his way to his sixth 50-plus score of the summer. A fine glance off Jordan took him to this one off his 74th ball, by which time he'd also become the first man this year to amass 700 championship runs. Not bad for a 23-year-old who few had really taken to their minds at the start of the summer. He would have been annoyed with himself for getting out on the stroke of lunch after putting on another 100 partnership with Rogers. On 54, Robson was legged before to Will Beer, who along with Chris Liddle was making a rare first-class appearance for their county. Beer, a late replacement for Monty Panesar, who has a shoulder complaint, struck in his fourth over, while McGoffin thought he'd earned wicket number 35 straight after lunch, but Rogers was given not out in spite of the vociferous appeal. That meant that Rogers could also secure his sixth 50-plus score of the summer. Indeed, his record this term is remarkably similar to Robson's. The only difference here was the pace of their innings, with the Ashes-bound opener reaching his 50 from 94 balls, from which he'd struck 5 fours. His inclusion for the Ashes squad at the start of this summer was met with surprise by some in the game. It was a selection which was at odds with Australia's normal route. After all, the Sydney-born man is approaching his 36th birthday. But you can bet that the England attack, like this Sussex one right now, wished that he wasn't there. He now added 52 runs with Joe Denley, who on 11 was somehow bowled by Beer with a ball which managed to get through what looked like an immaculate forward defensive stroke. Adam London was given the nod ahead of the out-of-sorts Derby Milan, in the four-day game at least, and the 24-year-old, in only his 11th first-class appearance, made an encouraging start to his innings with a couple of early boundaries. And he was there to congratulate his captain on reaching yet another 100, his second of the season and the 60th of his career. He got there with a perfectly timed sweep shot off the hitherto impressive Beer to go to three figures with his 12th boundary off his 167th delivery. And alas for the championship leaders, he appeared to have no intention of stopping there. London's innings did, however, in spite of getting a decent stride in, he was adjudged LBW to Chris Nash and left for 18 with his side on 197 for 3. Rogers too momentarily lost his concentration in the next over and on 105 nicked Beer to Jordan, who dropped the very difficult chance. It was a big moment just before tea. The first hour of the last session saw Middlesex ease themselves into a very strong position. Luke Wells was convinced that he had Rogers' leg before, the bowler almost pleading with the umpire. Sussex, of course, knew by now that Rogers' wicket was going to be a huge one, but they went to the close disappointed. Even worse for them was that Neil Dexter, having played himself in, now began to tuck into a tiring attack. He started to find the boundaries often as he tried to make sure that his side made the most of the day that had been set up by Rogers and Robson. For a side which has been used to taking wickets this summer, this was all a rather new experience for Sussex. Dexter batted with great intelligence and was rewarded with his fourth 50 in 9 innings this summer. This one required 84 deliveries and included 6 fours, the majority of them latterly. Some people have suggested that when Rogers joins his countrymen for the Ashes, that Middlesex's middle order may be exposed. Hardly, given the form Dexter is in and the fact that Owen Morgan will return at some point. For now, though, this day was all about Rogers, the Middlesex man. He joined his opening partner in the 700-run club, and then he struck his 16th four off the bottom edge to reach his 150, a score he's got used to reaching over his many years as a professional. By now he'd faced 265 deliveries and he was moments away from overhauling Robson at the top of the run-scoring charts. Isn't it just typical that an Australian is currently the best, or at least the most prolific batsman on the circuit? He ended the day with 713 championship runners to his name this season. In the battle between the best batsmen versus best bowlers of the domestic game, the batsman came out well on top. Rogers and Dexter took their fourth wicket partnership to 123 by the close, and their side on the edge of a very big first innings total. They'll resume on the second morning, with Rogers still there on 161 made from 279 deliveries on 320 for 3. Dexter will go again on 62, as the home side will press on to make Joyce further regret his decision at the toss.